And welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Galetta, aka Hampton Mike, along with my partner Brian, the Ranger Retard. We're going to do another NFL special that we told you we would. Today we head down to the eastern part of the country, well, head down south, to the eastern part of the country, the NFC South, and talk to the Carolina Panthers. And today we are privileged and honored to have someone from the North Carolina area on the phone today, who is a big Carolina fan, by the way, Panthers fan. Let's talk to Monty Fetty Jr. Monty, you on the phone?
Yes, sir. How are you doing today, man?
Monty, I'm just living the dream up here in Jersey, man. Nothing else can be better.
I know that's right.
All right, Brian, stat me. Let's go. Talk about the Panthers.
Carolina Panthers, 15-1 last year. First place in the NFC South. They did go to the Super Bowl, where they did unfortunately lose to the champion Denver Broncos. Offensively, they were second on the ground, but just 24th through the air. Sparkling defensively, 4th against the run, 11th against the pass. And listen, when you go 15-1, you're probably not going to pick too high in the next year's draft. 30th overall, they took Vernon Butler, defensive tackle out of Louisiana Tech. Not many additions, but one big subtraction for the Panthers after a contract dispute. They did end up cutting Josh Norman, who went to NFC rival Washington. So, hey, 15-1, that's pretty close to flawless in my book. They bulldozed through the NFC playoffs into the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they did end up losing to Peyton Manning and those Broncos in Peyton Swan song. Carolina's rushing attack was absolutely phenomenal, whether it was Jonathan Stewart or even Cam Newton running the ball. They did, unfortunately, miss Kelvin Benjamin all year. He's coming back healthy, should help an attack through the air that was below average last year. Losing Josh Norman through free agency will hurt, but again, their defense is still fantastic, led by Luke Kuechly. And adding Vernon Butler to the defensive tackle. Again, they had a 4th-ranked rushing defense last year. They've got the target on their back this year, though. There's some ample competition in the NFC. Teams like Arizona, Seattle, Green Bay, and of course, will they be able to shake that Super Bowl hangover and make their way back to the big stage? So, Monty, it's a pleasure to have you on, and I know that it was a pleasure to watch this Carolina Panther team last year. You know, Cam's been a big player in the league for a long time, but I think this was really his coming out party, and I don't think it caught a lot of people by surprise. How excited are you to see what Cam can do another year with this team?
Well, first, thank you for having me, man. It was very rough to watch us do so well, and then and come to the Super Bowl and somewhat lay a egg, but I actually believe we haven't seen the full repertoire of Cam Newton, to be honest. Now, coming from a Panther fan, I am a little biased, but I believe every year Cam Newton has gotten better, and from no matter passer rating or completion percentage, and I think he's more become a leader for Carolina now, and I think that no stat can speak for that. I definitely believe that this is going to be another great season for Carolina. I'm not so quick to name Super Bowl champions just yet, but I believe getting Kelvin Benjamin back, punches going the way he has been going in training camp, and like you said, having a tremendous defense to back you up, it always helps.
And it is remarkable how good they were, losing a guy like Kelvin Benjamin in the preseason. That's a killer for many teams, but to see Carolina do so well, I guess the silver lining to that cloud was that you had guys like Devin Funchess and Ted Ginn Jr. that rose to the occasion and filled those roles admirably, and now you're getting Benjamin back. Do you think that Cam is going to look Kelvin's way as a number one, or is he going to spread this ball around a little bit to some weapons that, again, rose to the occasion last year in Kelvin's absence?
I definitely believe Kelvin Benjamin will be our number one. I think what people so much forget about is, another option is Greg Olsen.
Absolutely.
And I believe that helps hit him, no matter if it's from just check downs or and a lot of times Greg Olsen has become Cam Newton's safety blanket. So with Kelvin Benjamin coming back, I believe he will resume that number one role. But I think that just so much more opens up that passing attack with having guys like you named, Ginn and Funchess coming into their own late into the season last year, and then Greg Olsen being the second tight end in football last year. I believe the sky is only the limit for Kelvin Benjamin. If that makes sense.
Sure. Now jumping to the running backs over there, obviously you talk about Jonathan Stewart, who carried most of the load last year, and you have the the fullback that carries a little bit of the ball down at the goal line, Mike Tolbert. But other than those two guys with 9 years of experience, you got a lot of running backs on the team with, maybe 3, 2, 4 years of experience, rookies, and last year they might have been down a little bit on Fozzie Whitaker. But is there any running back that you can see, rookie or, even Artis Payne, can you see him sharing the load with Jonathan Stewart this year, or is there another guy we should look for?
And all reports this year have shown that Cameron Artis Payne is definitely showing to be a lot better back than the year before. I read where he's lost a lot of weight this year. Right. So coming into it, he's a little faster. And I believe his blocking was the biggest part of him not being a factor last year, and which is being said he's a lot better blocker this year. So add that with Mike Tolbert and Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart, I believe Cameron Artis Payne would be the next guy up. I'm actually very excited to see what he's able to do. Coming from Auburn, he actually led the SEC in rushing yards for his senior year. So it will be fun to see how we incorporate him into that running offense. I don't see him taking the majority of the snaps from Jonathan Stewart, but I definitely believe that he could be a great addition to that running offense.
And you talk about the defense too here, Monty. Not short on stars, especially led by Luke Kuechly, Shaq Thompson. They really have a lot of talent there, but Josh Norman is a big loss. I don't think there's anything you can say that to minimize that.
Absolutely.
Do you think though that as good as they were last year, even losing Norman, that they can replicate some of that? Again, they've been a team that the defense was good for a long time. And Ron Rivera is a defensive guy. You can see these guys are motivated. They play really, really well for him. But,
right.
Who do you see that can possibly fill the role that Josh Norman, he played so well last year. You remember the games against the Giants. He was an ODB's head, big time. What are your expectations for the defense losing a guy like that?
That's probably the trickiest question coming into the season. To mimic what he did last year is going to be a tall task. I would like to say that we have just a clear-cut answer coming into it, but dealing with rookies, like we drafted the guy James Bradbury, you just never know. I believe from everything I've read and seen, he looks to be the exact profile of Josh Norman, from size and speed and his ability to jam receivers at the line. So it will be fun to watch him progress during the season. I'll tell you the truth, that would be my biggest concern. It's just that corner position, because when you lose an all-pro corner as you did in Josh Norman, it's going to be hard to replace that no matter who you draft, or who you bring in. So I believe James Bradbury is up to the challenge. I believe he'll do a good job, but it's still something to look for throughout the season.
I just look forward to Luke Kuechly running around and making all those tackles. There's a guy
yeah, man. That's something we've gotten used to here, and being in the actual dome and hearing the Luke chant is definitely something that brings a big smile to my face every time.
Yeah. Now, we look at the schedule, and being in the NFC South, I think the NFC South for the most part isn't that good of a division. You got a couple of teams in there that can make a little noise, but in the beginning of the season, you're talking about going to Denver, they come back for San Francisco, they come home for Minnesota, then they go to Atlanta, which in the NFC South is a tough place to play. Then they have the Bucs at home. That last game, I'll tell you what, they could be in trouble with the Bucs this year, up and coming team with Winston. But where do you see? That's right. Where do you see any kind of issues that Carolina could run into during the schedule with some certain teams?
Those as you said, those road games are real tough this year. We do a bunch of traveling for the West Coast this year, from going to Denver and going to Oakland and then going back to Seattle another time this year. So just the traveling probably will be my biggest concern. I actually believe that open game is definitely a swing game for us. It either can go really well or really bad. Same with Denver. Opening up the season, you're still reliving that Super Bowl moment where I'm inclined to believe we will win. It's still, that's still a tall task to do all that traveling in one season, especially when you're crossing coast. So that probably would be the biggest thing for me, is just how, if we can stay healthy and stay focused throughout the season.
Well, especially when you go to, like you said, you go to Oakland, then you go to Seattle the following week. So
Absolutely.
Do you just stay out there and just play in Seattle, or do you come back to Carolina, practice, and go back to Oakland? I mean, that's a chore in itself. That's gonna tire them out a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's probably what makes me nervous, you know, because we actually haven't been a great traveling team over the last 4 years. We play amazing at home, but travel and you know, and we don't play nearly as hard as we have at home, which I believe we actually we will correct a lot of those mistakes that we have. You know, Coach Ron is a great coach. Sean McDermott is an amazing defensive coordinator, you know, so I believe we are set to be okay with those big moves, you know, from Oakland to Denver, but it is still something to look for.
Yeah, I mean, the storyline here, as you guys are talking about it, I mean, it looks like they're playing the NFC West and the AFC West as their, other divisions that they're playing. I mean, that's not easy. That is a lot of West Coast travel.
Yep.
I mean that is definitely a storyline, and again, I think that
they got 3 in 1 week.
Yeah,
big travel.
They might as well, get a hotel and just hang out on the West Coast. But,
yeah, you know, it kind of is a thorn in my side, you know, because we play more in Seattle than we do at home, and I would love to see my boys beat Seattle in Carolina, you know, which we haven't done in forever.
I just can't believe they put Oakland and Seattle back-to-back weeks they travel.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, Panther fans, the schedule makers did you really no favors.
No, well, I mean, they're as good as they were last year. Man.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And that's the thing in the NFL. I mean, if you have a successful year, you're going to feel it next year.
We'll pay for
that
it.
They try to get that parity in there. But again, I mean, the NFC South always seems to have different division winners every year. I'll go on record and say I don't know if it's going to change this year. I think that the Panthers are still, the class of that division. I think it's just going to come down to, can they roll off enough wins to end up with a bye, to avoid some of those second place teams that finish in those divisions that probably would win other divisions if they were there. That's going to be in their way.
So, Monty, we'll ask you with the schedule we just talked about. How do you see the Panthers shaping out this year in their division and record-wise?
Division-wise, like you said, the Atlanta game is always a swing game for us. I believe we've won 2 games in the last 2 years. I believe we split within the last 2 seasons.
Right.
So that definitely will be a question mark. And Tampa, like you said as well, Tampa is a young team. I think Winston definitely showed a lot of what he was made of last year, and I believe that Tampa probably, in my opinion, will finish second in that division. I still see us winning. I definitely see us sweeping New Orleans. I see we're splitting with Tampa and Atlanta, but gosh, man, we haven't lost many pieces. Josh Norman, like you all said, was the biggest piece that we have lost, and I just have confidence in that front seven, man. I can see us going about 11-5 or 12-4, and still being second in the NFC.
Yeah, it's funny we talk about the quarterback play in the NFC South. I mean, I think everybody wants to razz on the South. That's never really a really strong division. You have 4 quarterbacks, a lot of pedigree in that division.
Absolutely.
2 first overall picks. Matty Ryan was, I think, 3rd overall, and Drew Brees was a top of the 2nd round pick. I mean, tell you what, that's a pretty quarterback heavy division right now.
And we speak of that division. You can't count out the Bucs this year because the Bucs have been the doormat of the league.
And the Bucs have got nothing but stronger. Last year, I believe that rookie season and the course that Jameis Winston had is definitely we're going to see a lot better Jameis Winston, and they have weapons. That the only thing they needed was a quarterback and a half decent defense, which now they have. So it's going to be fun to watch that division and how it plays out this year.
Monty, you're preaching to the choir. I get reminded by Mike on a daily basis how good Jameis Winston is. So.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for the Carolina Panthers tonight. We want to really thank Monty on just short notice for getting on and talking some Panthers with us today. Monty, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you all for having me, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, and of course, Brian, we will put Monty in the Magic Rolodex. So anything comes up in Panther Haven or Panther Nation or even down Carolina, we will let him know to get him back on the line to talk to the Carolina Panthers. Is that good, Monty?
Absolutely. I'm here for you, guys.
See this guy. I like this guy already. Only winners come to the Sports Box. Attaboy. Thank you for watching. Keep an eye out. We got some good stuff coming.
Make sure you're following us on social media. We're at Sportsbox Show on Twitter. Like us on Facebook, and go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Why go search for it? It'll come right to you.
Just subscribe. You gotta subscribe. It's just a click of a button. Anyway, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters is right here. Thanks for watching, folks. See ya.
Don't forget to subscribe.